the Defensive Player of the Year. I'm Darren Haynes with the ESPN headlines. Let's welcome in ESPN NBA insider Tom Haberstroh. Tom, why don't you agree with what Doc Rivers said?
Well, Darren, the issue here is that we're paying too much attention to his blocks per game and not to the overall repertoire of DeAndre Jordan blocks per game, which is top 4 in the NBA. But a closer look at his numbers reveals that he isn't cracked up to be the Defensive Player of the Year, not much less, the clear Defensive Player of the Year. I don't even have him as a contender, just because a lot of players in the Clippers are just an average defensive team. They rank 15th in defensive efficiency, which if you're going to pick a guy who's clearly the Defensive Player of the Year, they should be a good defensive team. And secondly, you look at his rim protection. He has those blocks, but he's a sound defense at the rim, and he ranks in the bottom half of the NBA in rim protection. SportView cameras are actually capturing how well guys shoot at the rim when DeAndre Jordan is nearby, and they're shooting 49. You're looking at the big men in the NBA. So when we look beyond blocks per game, it just doesn't make a good case that DeAndre Jordan is the best, clearly, in the NBA at defending.
So Tom, looking at the team defensively, though, DeAndre Jordan is only 1 out of 5 players on the court. How much of the team defensive stats are impacted by maybe the poor defense from his teammates?
Okay, yeah, he's got some poor perimeter defenders on his team, and he's anchoring that roster. But we're talking about Chris Paul being his defensive anchor with him. I mean, Chris Paul is a perennial first-team all-defensive anchor. I mean, he is one of the best defensive players in DeAndre year in and year out are with Chris Paul. So this isn't a case of him having to pick up a bunch of sorry defenders. He's got one of the best in the NBA right there with him all the time. And actually, in that the Los Angeles Clippers defense falls completely apart, and they allow 108 points every 100 possessions when he's playing defense without Chris Paul out there. With Chris Paul, that goes down to 103. So that's actually a good indicator that defense, or I should say an average one, but I can't get past the fact that Draymond Green, Andrew Bogut, Rudy Gobert, all these other defenders, Serge Ibaka, their defenses are so much better as a team when they're on the floor than what we're seeing with DeAndre Jordan.
Who do you think should be Defensive Player of the Year then?
Well, I've got my vote. I don't have an official vote, but my vote would be for Draymond Green right now. He leads the NBA in defensive RPM, or I should say real plus minus. What he does defensively, he has the most defensive win shares in the NBA as well. Because he's so versatile. He can guard 5 positions. He can guard the post. He's got a ton of steals, a ton of blocks, and he's really the anchor for that defense. So if you want a guy who does everything on the court defensively, it's Draymond Green, and the metrics back me up on that.
That is Tom Haberstroh on why DeAndre Jordan is not